Welcome to the jump off point. I am Sly.
Spook.
Yeah, I can't follow that. It's the Chief.
So we've just watched Star Trek Discovery Episode 4. We're going to do a little review and then we're going to go away and watch Star Trek Episode 5 and then talk more about this franchise, if it's franchise. So, Spook, Chief, what did you think of Episode 4?
I'm trying not to think about it, to be honest.
Bad.
Well, it's good to see that they've gone into some sort of exploratory mode of taming goats to be their navigators, so they can fly great distances instantaneously and destroy Klingons who are attacking the major refinery for Dilithium.
With other Klingons that are sitting in a dead ship in space.
Yeah.
That has cloaking technology that everyone would want, and have been sitting there for the last 6 months, starving, I guess.
But the other Klingons can just beam in and out as they see fit.
Yeah, so...
Oh no, a lot of this just doesn't make sense.
I mean, the Chief said it just before we began recording. I don't think it'll get much worse than Episode 3. This was a major clusterfuck from beginning to end. And Spook and I watched this, had seen this episode before, and we kept reminding Chief it's going to get a little bit worse.
And unfortunately it did. You know, the pre-credits, I said, was an improvement of Episode 3. Because
we hadn't pressed play yet, though.
Well, no, I said it was an improvement because there wasn't the body flying past the window out the back.
Okay, in terms of really bad scenes, what was your worst scene of this episode?
The absolute disregard. Well, yeah. I think when the security chief opened the door and let the slug out, that was just moronically stupid.
Oh, you can't get worse than that. That just
when I started
plumbs the depths.
When I started talking about that, then the threat ganglia kept coming into my head as well. That's multiple stupid scenes.
Well, my shit ganglia was triggered by that. The threat ganglia is amazing. It's been triggered 2 times.
In the turbo lift?
Was it in the turbo lift?
Yeah, when Burnham walked in, it threatened. He was threatened.
Oh, okay. And previous episode when the prison ship flew off and he looked at it flying off, but his threat ganglia protruded and it was like, oh, there's something wrong. It hasn't been triggered when the Discovery's been attacked,
or when it warped, or it spore drived in the sun. There was no threat there.
Or where the big slugs on the other side of the.
Or when the shields were down to 10%, the threat ganglia didn't come out there.
Or in the opening episode when they were getting attacked by Klingons.
But maybe he's got one around his sphincter as well.
He didn't say he wanted to run in this episode though, so.
But it's
don't
also
know how that happened.
But it's also amazing. We talked about this a bit as it was going on, that Michael Burnham called him into the science lab and used his threat ganglia to show, oh look, the creature's not dangerous because your threat ganglia hasn't been triggered, although the creature was behind a force field. And it's like, well, that's like saying you're going to go to the zoo and be threatened by a lion in a fucking pen which can't get to you. What sort of logic is that you're going to have this threat ganglia triggered by this impossible threat?
It's like you said, the threat ganglia was threatened from Michael Burnham, but in the first episode, they were getting hammered in space. Who knows how many other things, and this is when it pops up.
And this is just me. This is like, obviously someone's just thought this would be a good device so they can find out the creature's not dangerous. Let's bring in this threat ganglia, and someone's gone. Probably Alex Kurtzman has gone. That's not probably he even suggested it probably. And someone probably said, I don't know, maybe Brian Fuller said, I don't agree. And Kurtzman just said, well, you're fired. So because Fuller's gone, Fuller was in all the previous Star Trek, or I think most of the previous Star Trek series. He's left this series now. And just reading between the lines, I just think he left because this is just not Star Trek. And worse than this, we had a discussion in the Star Trek group on Facebook. We were talking about this. And people were defending this. And the comment I came up with was, I don't mind that it's trying to be dark and it's trying to be edgy and it's trying to go for something a little bit different with this ongoing war. The thing I can't handle is how dumb the plotting is. From fucking step to step, it's just magnificently stupid. And the security chief opening the door.
I can't get over that. Just go back to how stupid that's just. stupid.
When the captain's already established, oh, this creature, batleths didn't damage it, the phasers set it on kill didn't damage it, and she's going, well, I'll just go in with a knife.
And a phaser.
So I'll give it gave it some laughing gas first.
Yeah.
Oh,
And then decided to open it up.
Didn't bother to check whether it was actually sedated.
No, didn't supposedly turn on the lights because that's what it is. Didn't put cyanide on it. Who knows what the hell you can do. Didn't actually run with some,
You think
whatever. Get out of the room first, maybe before you let it out. I don't know. It's a logic. Go on a logic trek.
Going into it's like science fiction, one of my fucking favourite scenes in any science fiction is from Predator 2, where they're trying to capture the Predator and they flooded the warehouse with, because they worked out it had infrared or something, vision, and they flooded the warehouse with some shit which was meant to negate its infrared vision. And then they went to the Predator's point of view, and it just, you could see it cycling through different forms of vision until it found one that worked, and then it just fucking attacked them again. And that was really, really cool.
Yeah, it's good.
This, you'd
And
think...
then it offered them some candy.
Oh, that was a little bit early. But it was really good because, it actually showed, it adjusted, adapted. It showed, what they thought could actually... And these are people in the fucking 20th century. It showed that, what they thought they could negate it with didn't work. This is meant to be the chief of security on the starship. And she's just gone, well, yeah, I have flooded the chamber with sedation. I'll just walk in. No worries. I'll just walk straight in.
So, just on a slightly above level of that, of utter stupidity, is how can you have 40% of the Federation's dilithium crystals protected by
Nothing.
a lifeboat and
there's
some
a
Boy
war on.
Scouts? That this ship, the Discovery, can actually beat up in about 4 seconds, but you're not going to put a whole fleet of people to protect the only thing that makes your ship go. I mean, how stupid.
Oh, the nearest ship was 84 hours away.
Oh,
Maybe
84
that is-
hours, of
Maybe that is
course.
protection. The Klingons seem to wander in there. And
Oh, well, yeah, they can
they
just
had-
beam
they-
him maybe.
they
It's
had
from
6 hours to shoot it after. I mean, their ships aren't very good.
And that's another, if you actually extrapolate that, that's like one of these scenarios where someone said, well, how about we have the Klingons attacking them and nearest Starfleet will be just, so far away that, they'll have to use their spoof drive to get there really quickly. But if you actually look at that premise and examine it, for the Klingons to get there would have taken them some flight time. And apparently Starfleet has no surveillance in that area, which warned them this was happening until it happened.
They had no ships until not even until it happened. Until they actually got attacked and were actually getting hammered, and then they find out.
Yeah, but
know,
that's
so
what
it's
I'm
not
saying.
even. Yeah, it's coming in.
But
There's
that's
a fleet.
it's just a countdown marker.
But
Yeah, but you didn't know there's a
For-
fleet
for-
coming in. They're actually being attacked and
For
people
fake-
are dying.
For fake tension.
But that's the stupid thing.
For
You know,
stupid
you
tension.
see, particularly when they've had wars in Star Trek and the Borg, Cardassians, Jem'Hadar, and all that sort of stuff. The Dominion. They always had scanners. It was always like, this fleet is this far away until it reaches this thing. You look at fucking The Best of Both Worlds, the two-parter. They were tracking the Borg as it was going to Earth, so they were fucking seeing it getting closer and closer. But apparently no one saw this Klingon fleet until it fucking actually hit. And then the core, the refinery there got a fucking message out saying, oh, we're getting attacked.
And actually, the other thing, all the ships happen to be within 100 metres of the Discovery. There's nothing sort of sitting outside that 100-metre radius that can, there's other ships in space. They're all just attacking and are right over the top of this thing before it blows up.
Well, that was...
And they're bested by essentially what's a science vessel masquerading as a warship.
Yeah.
And in the past, the birds of prey had a bit of cloud around them. They weren't.
they're piss weak.
These ones are taken down like it's a video game with one shot.
Yeah, piss weak.
Yeah, surely there could have been some ground defences around the 40% of the dilithium
Or you'd think-
factory that could have just shot them down.
You'd think there'd be more than one starship, a science vessel sitting there. You'd think you'd have, a fleet of military warships and space stations with, machine gun, whatever, gunners on it and all that sort of stuff to protect it. Because you actually were kind of at war with the Klingons even before you were at war with the Klingons. And then they've been at war for 6 months. So some smart military head didn't think, oh, you know where we're vulnerable? You know that dilithium, mine? Maybe we should put, a couple of ships there and build a few space stations that got some big guns on it because, that's a nice point to actually attack. I mean, don't they watch World War II movies?
No,
I mean,
you would think that anything taught in Starfleet that always would look at historical moments like that. In warfare is you always attack the munitions or the fuel dumps.
it's basic.
But there's one other thing that I was thinking of.
That's Alex Kurtzman apparently just saying stop bagging me.
How much did you love this episode, guys? No, it's with the space slug goat. It's
Ripper.
threatened. It only attacks to defend itself. So when they found it on the other ship, what was their threat to it?
Yeah, that's true.
It pursued them and attacked them.
It killed them. The Klingon who was shushing was doing nothing but shushing.
Well, maybe shushing the slug it's
Well,
quite
why didn't the slug then attack?
Well, that's
After
the thing.
in the Discovery, when they zapped it, why didn't it go mad and attack?
Well, when
It went nuts when they actually went the other time, before it got hooked up, but now it's got hooked up.
If it's clamped down and forced to be the Navatron, then surely it's in a threatened position.
Yeah.
And should have just.
But
They showed it. They showed in this one. I noticed it the second time round. They had the same structures set up in the tricorder photos, showing how it burst out of this. So presumably it didn't like it that instance.
Yeah, I know.
It was threatened. This one was okay, I suppose, because she fed it some dog
Magic
food
mushrooms.
before,
It was magic mushrooms.
And she's tamed Ripper.
It's actually amazing that I don't know what's the cast. How many characters there are? Like about 400 in this series. But the one sympathetic character that they have is this fucking CGI beast. That's the only character you feel some sympathy for.
Well,
you could not give a shit about anybody else. There was meant to be this touching moment at the end where Michael Burnham received Captain Giorgio's last will and testament, and received a telescope that apparently someone went back to the Shenzhou to fucking get so they could fulfill this will. They left everything else on the Shenzhou except his telescope. And I'm still trying to decipher what the context of that message was. Was it like she was thinking, I failed to live up to this expectation, or this message is shaming me, or was this just meant to be some sweet little moment between the captain and her former first officer, which is totally undermined by the fact that the fucking Michael Burnham neck pinched her and then pretty much started the war and got her killed and all that. And I just didn't really get what they were trying.
I think it's the first path of her redemption, isn't it? Is to get the endorsement of the person that you
get
allowed to get killed. If she says,
wait,
you were like a daughter to me.
Wait, not just killed, but eaten.
Oh, you gotta love that one.
She's actually now. Could I go back and revisit my my most hated part? The Klingons eat people now.
So not only do they have a double-sized head and ridges all over the place, but yes, now they're cannibals and eat people.
And boring. They're just boring now.
Jesus Christ, are they boring?
So, okay, I was actually going to bring this up.
They are hopeless.
The other half of this episode was about more Klingon politics. This actually starting to remind me a lot of Phantom Menace, with all the political manoeuvring behind the scenes, and you're just sort of watching it going, can you fucking draw a lightsaber or something? Because this is really boring. In Star Trek, in all the previous incarnations, when they had Klingon politics, it was pretty cool because the Klingons were charismatic and they shouted and they attacked each other. These Klingons are fucking the most boring creatures in quite possibly all of science fiction. I don't think I've seen anything as boring as this. I think there were fucking aliens in Lost in Space, the series, which were more threatening than these Klingons. Especially like that alien who had like the frog head. He was fucking really scary compared to these Klingons. This is like just a fucking abomination. I don't know. And they keep pushing it on us, and we keep having to listen to these cockheads speak.
It's like Vogon poetry.
Well, we did see that someone was called Zaphod in there, so they obviously got some stuff out of the Hitchhikers.
Oh, it's just terrible. And they talk so monotone as well. It's
slow, monotone, no emotion. And why don't you just speak English? We don't want to read all this crap. I understand you start that way, but just change into English because you're just extending the show and our boredom longer.
You can't really establish any rage or tension or threat or any sort of emotion when you're just talking.
Well, I think someone else. There's actually another form. Another former Star Trek writer, Melinda Snodgrass, I think her name is. She blogged after the first episode. She said, "I think they just got so much prosthetics, makeup on. They can't speak. They can't.
Oh, they've got so much headgear on. It's not funny."
And my bigger problem with the Klingons, all this Klingon backstory. Okay, let me go back to Star Trek Next Gen when they were doing the Klingon politics and Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and they always had Worf as our cipher, so we always followed the politics through Worf, and you always had sort of one guy they built up to be the sympathetic character, and then they'd have Gowron as the almighty prick, or whatever the case was, or Worf would be the sympathetic character. So you could go, okay, I can get into this because I can follow this guy against that guy. I don't know who. Half the episodes so far are always about these Klingons, and it's like I'm watching going, why would I care about any of these Klingons?
And they're all tiny. Where's the big where's the warrior?
The mountain Klingon.
The mountain Klingon. Well, someone who's more than like 5'8".
But it's like this in this episode. They had the anointed Klingon. What's his name?
Torchbearer.
Vok. Yeah, the Torchbearer. And his goal is to pretty much resurrect the Empire so they can destroy the Federation or the Starfleet. And then they had the usurper Cole who came in. And his goal is to reunite the Klingons so they can destroy the Federation. I'm just sitting there going, why do I care who comes out? They've both got the same objectives.
Oh, no, I think the other guy wanted the cloaking technology off that ship.
Yeah, but
that's really what he wanted. But once he gets it, he'll be more powerful.
But ultimately their goal is to destroy the Starfleet.
Yeah, they agreed.
Who knows what it is?
No, but he said it. He goes, because they said it to Cole. And Cole said, we're united now, but after we destroy Starfleet, we'll be
fragmented.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so their goals ultimately are, let's destroy Starfleet. So I'm watching whether you win or you win, the fucking outcome's the same. So how do I choose who I'm meant to go for? Am I meant to go for for Vok, whatever his fucking name is, because he's the one they're painting as sympathetic? That would have worked a lot better if he was like a dissenting Klingon, just saying we should parley with them, we should make peace with them, it's better to fucking make peace and all this. And you could actually sort of sit there and go, well, we need this guy to succeed because he's their only hope of peace with Starfleet. But instead we've got these two Klingons with the same objectives, and they'll probably bring in more Klingons who are going, I want to destroy Starfleet too. And it's like, who gives a fuck? You all got the same goal, so how am I meant to root for one of you over the other?
I just can't get over the fact that ship was sitting there for 6 months in what's Federation space, because in the first episode that's where Michael Burner and their ship was. They just had a fight, and the Federation, or even the Klingons, no one went there for 6 months. Well, the Federation to get the ship back. Well, they actually obviously did, because they got the
telescope.
Captain Philippa's telescope back, and they left the ship, and they left the Klingon ship, and they left the cloaking technology, and they left
should have used the telescope.
all the rest of it. And you just think there's another just gap in logic that's about as big as the universe. It's just that's stupid. And who's writing these things? Get a 12-year-old to get your logic trek up and running, because it's just clusterfuck.
Honestly,
it's a clusterfuck. I can't get into anything other than bagging it, because there's nothing in there.
I apologise if I'm wrong, but every time something stupid comes up, and that's like about every 48 seconds in this series, I just think Alex Kurtzman. I really do. I mean, he was the one, quite possibly the fucking worst scene in the history of Spider-Man movies was in Spider-Man 2, where they needed a key to get out, and they turn around, and then in the frame of shot, there's just this hand of a corpse holding a key. And it's like, that solved the whole problem. And in this one, we got fucking Vok on the Shenzo in the ready room, and the data pad just floated past, and he caught it.
With no security protocols on it.
Yeah.
And I don't even know why he's in the ready room, since they were there to get the lithium core. And it's just stupid. It's just really dumb plotting. And that's what I really hate the most. I could live with the rest of the shit if they told the story well. You can get really fucking good stories. You look at something like Narcos, where good guys are getting wiped out left, right, and centre. And they got one of the most badass, antagonists around in Pablo Escobar. And that's compelling television because it's really well told. This is a shit fest.
Yeah, and you could actually do that on a similar scale too. You could have one antagonist that is
the Klingon Emperor.
And over all three, because you see nothing of scale with the Klingons. At the moment now we've seen about 8 of them, and they're all boring as fuck.
Yeah.
And you don't know whether they just like a breakaway faction, or are they representative of the entire Klingon Empire. You get no sense of who's who, or who's the important player amongst all this. It's just one boring fuck after the next, waffling some shit.
But in the previous ones, Gowron was built up over time, which is great. you know, he was a nothing, he was a middling also ran, and then they built him up over a season or 2 seasons, and he ended up become emperor. And every one of them's got someone to an antagonist.
And it's also a good example of where the prosthetic makeup wasn't that overpowering. That the guy that played Garon had those psycho eyes, and he always looked like he was unhinged or about to explode as well. And he really sold that character well because of that. Not when you got big puffy bits all over your head or a lobster just resting on your forehead or whatever.
There's just way too much to look at. It's so dominant, but it's also so monotonal. You get all these different hairs, and you just look at them going, you all look the same. And I don't know if one's meant to be fierce or... I really like Star Trek 6, The Undiscovered Country. I think Christopher Plummer just refused to wear too much in the prosthetics.
Oh, he did.
So he had like really thin ridges, but he had like the eye patch bolted into his skull. And he was for Klingons, he was very urbane and cultured and all that, and he was still extremely threatening. They're doing things, like someone sitting there in writers' meetings going, I've got an idea, how about if they ate the captain? That would make them scary, wouldn't it?
Yeah, they'll show their vicious, they're bad dudes if they're going to eat the captain's head and her brains, or... that's tough.
And that's also one of these things where you, in storytelling, especially on screen, if you tell me something happened, it's going to be boring. If you showed me it happened, if you actually showed me eating the captain, I might have felt something a little bit.
The Hannibal Lecter scene.
Yeah, you know, you're just talking about stuff that happens off screen. But I mean, the Klingons. Every time we see, have the Klingons actually fought each other at any point? They haven't, have they? Just been standing around talking.
Well, Cole got him with jelly beans. Basically, he basically got
Bribed
the whole crew, bribed the crew with jelly beans. It looked like
they were hungry. They'd run out of Federation to eat. I suppose. I just want to throw something in that I did bring up previously. When Supervok at the end was with the chick who I think wants to bone him, well, literally because they're Klingons, she said something about, I'm going to take you to the matriarch and they're going to show you everything and there's going to be there's a great sacrifice that comes with it. And he said, what is it? And she said, well, it's everything or something. It's hard to remember. But what my theory is that this is how dumb this show will get. This is how they'll bridge that fucking train wreck of a looking Klingon into the original series Klingons, and that'll be the sacrifice that they have to become human appearing.
Well, that's a big call. That one.
Out there. I could be wrong. If it is, I'll come back and edit this out.
I think that's too smart for this show.
No,
I think it's way beyond.
I don't think that's actually smart at all.
Oh,
I think
it's a logic faith leap.
It's 10 years. It's 10 years away from the original, so everyone's going to have some DNA testing.
I think it's likely when they bring in the
maybe the big slug
matriarch.
will do something. The big slug and the cosmic lights will change them all.
Well, I hope the matriarch's like a big queen or something, and it lives in a lair, and it's got 50 arms and devours Klingons.
So it's Alex Kurtzman.
Yeah, he devours logic.
All right, I guess
they've already done that.
Yeah. So I guess that's it for episode 4. We're about to watch episode 5, and we'll be back. Until then.
Cool.
What he said.